Chris Sale. He did not want to wear the jerseys that Chicago White Sox gave him to wear over the weekend. They were the throwback jerseys, and apparently they had a collar that was very uncomfortable. A feeling that I can sort of relate to, an uncomfortable collar, because I usually wear T-shirts. I pretty much almost always wear T-shirts. But when I wear dress shirts, it takes a little bit to get used to the collar. This is not my defense of Chris Sale. Just FYI, that's a very weak defense. If that was the defense. No, it's not the defense of Chris Sale. Here's where I defend what Chris Sale felt, because I can't defend at all what he did. What Chris Sale did in response to not wanting to wear the jerseys that the team gave him to wear was to throw a gigantic temper tantrum in the locker room and then cut the jerseys with what, like scissors? I don't even know. No news report is saying with what he used to cut the jerseys. I imagine scissors, because that's easiest and makes the most sense. But who knows? He could have taken out a pocket knife and just started going to town. I have no idea. The point is, he didn't want to wear the jerseys, and he made this very well known to the team that he did not want to wear the jerseys. Did not just cut up the jersey they gave him. He cut up other people's jerseys because he was not interested in these uncomfortable collared jerseys. How dare you make me wear this? And I can't defend that action. I can't defend basically acting like a giant man baby. Like, there's no other way of wording that. You are throwing a tantrum like a giant man infant. There's no defense of that behavior. I can't defend that. I don't know anybody that does that. I know people that get mad. I know people that yell. I'm a yeller, for what it's worth. I know people that get extremely upset, and you're just like, man, what is wrong with you? And still, I've never seen anybody go, as a grown adult, as a grown person, I don't want to do this, so I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to break it. I'm going to throw it. As a grown adult, as a fully matured human male, I've never seen anybody do that. I've never seen it. So Chris Sale basically does that. And I cannot for the life of me figure out how that got that far. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But my defense of Chris Sale's feelings are this. Is winning important to the team, yes or no? Okay, you're the White Sox. You're average. You are so powerfully average. You've been powerfully average for years. I mean, average is an understatement at this point. You're 2 games below 500, and you're really good at being at and around 500. That's your team. And being in the middle is a rough deal in sports. It's a real rough deal. That's why the 76ers do what they do. That's why they tank their entire existence away. Because they'd rather be that than whatever team it is that's in 9th place in the Eastern Conference. Like, you're okay, but you're not ever going to win a title. You're never going to make a playoff run. Nobody wants to be that team. You'd rather tank. Like, you'd rather be the Braves than the White Sox. Like, if you can't be in the hunt, you can't be the Dodgers, and you can't be the Pirates, it's almost better to be the Braves. At least that means you've got prospects. That means you get good draft picks. You've got a place to go if you're the Braves, which is up. If you're in the middle, you have no idea what direction you're going in. It's a tough place to be. But I'm looking at the White Sox, and I'm going, okay, is winning important to this team or not? Because your pitcher is telling you this jersey is uncomfortable for me to wear. And if it's uncomfortable for me to wear, that means that I pitch worse. Like, the comfort is not an issue of aesthetics. It's not an issue of look. It's not an issue of style. Like, I refuse to wear these jerseys because they're ugly. Because I would even understand that. Every time I watch the NFL and they run out those ridiculous throwback jerseys for some of those teams, I'm like, why did you let them put that on you? The Philadelphia Eagles wear this hideous powder blue and yellow situation that it looks like JJ the jet plane vomited all over the team. I could not possibly understand the reasoning for forcing people to wear some of those jerseys based on style. It looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers wear these jerseys too, that they're hideous. It looks like somebody basically enlarged a hive of bumblebees. They're ugly jerseys. I would rebel against those jerseys just based on look. I can understand rebelling against the jersey just based on look, but that's not even what this was about. This was about performance. And quite frankly, I don't see anything wrong with wanting something that helps you perform better. If a color is going to make you perform worse, why would you want it on you? Furthermore, we all know this about Major League Baseball pitchers. They are the most superstitious people in sports. Okay, NFL kickers are the most superstitious people in sports, but immediately right after that, pitchers are. Pitchers are superstitious. They have tics for every reason. You've got to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again. When you have to repeat the same motion constantly, you tend to have rituals around the repetition of whatever it is you're doing. So yeah, I can understand why he wouldn't want to wear the collar. It stops you from being a good pitcher in your mind. And it's hard to pitch once you've got it in your head. I can't do it. Here's where Chris Sale went viciously wrong. He's got no negotiation skills. None. That's an actual thing in life that people need to have, the ability to negotiate. Because not everything in life happens the way that you want it to happen. And sometimes there's got to be a little give and take. Sometimes you've got to be able to articulate what it is that you're feeling. And this is not a Chris Sale problem. This is just a human problem, that sometimes when you've got a problem, you've got an issue, you can't always articulate it. But you try not to explode and cut up a bunch of jerseys before you think about what it takes to explain your feelings. The issue with Chris Sale is he's a great pitcher. He's probably been a great pitcher all his life. He continues to be a great pitcher. He's the best player on the team. They're going to bend over backwards for him. And why do you have to learn how to explain yourself if people will just figure out what you want? Like, I've got to figure out how to explain myself so that I don't get fired from my job. I've worked a lot of horrible jobs, just terrible jobs, and I didn't like all the managers that I've ever had. But if you can negotiate with them, if you can say, okay, well, I don't really like that. I don't want to do that. Can I do this instead? Can I do this instead? You have a back and forth, a conversation. You find that you end up a little bit further than being suspended for 5 games for cutting up a jersey. Or 3, or however many it was. It was multiple jerseys. It was more than one. It was greater than or equal to 1 jersey, which is still an excessive amount of jerseys to cut up merely because you did not want to wear it. You've got to be able to negotiate and like talk about stuff with people. Now, how do you get around life without that ability? You're not going to play baseball forever. So how do you get around life without the ability to say to somebody, can I do this instead? The NBA forces players to wear those ridiculous t-shirt jerseys all the time. And you know what guys have done? Loosen the sleeves. That's it. They're stretchy. You just pull on the sleeves until they're a little loose. Done. No, people don't like the jerseys, especially if you're a person that doesn't shoot great, because it's a little restricting. You're like a guy like LeBron. You've got enormous shoulders. I can see how that hurts your shooting, which is already decent. Like, you're LeBron, you need every advantage you can get when you've got monsters like Kevin Durant in the league. Guys just sniping from beyond the arc. I mean, you take every advantage that you can get. A t-shirt jersey is not going to help you, but LeBron has a capability. He has an ability as a mature adult that apparently Chris Sale has not learned, which is the ability to just simply negotiate with people with whom you disagree. There's like a middle ground to be had there. It's like the people who are doing the Black Lives Matter and the people who are supporting the police. If you are like Chris Sale in your thinking, you are not able to find a point in the middle. You're not able to find a point where the lives of black people matter and the lives of cops matter, and you somehow can't have both. You have to choose a side. but you don't have to choose a side. I don't want any more dead black guys. I also don't want any more dead cops. I like everybody being alive if that's really cool with everyone. The ability to negotiate is what causes you to see the middle ground in issues. Chris Sale can't see the middle ground in an issue. I don't want to wear the collar. It'll help me perform poorly. Like that's not a bad reason at all. I've heard people making fun of Chris Sale, like, oh, put on your little uniform and go out there and play. But like, I understand the performance thing. They pay you to perform. If you go out there and give up like 9 runs, your ERA inflates. That's going to affect contract negotiations later down the road. And what? Because of a collar? No, you don't want that in your life. Nobody wants that in their life. You get incentives for having the best ERA in the league, for having the most strikeouts in the league. Why would you take those opportunities away from yourself over a throwback jersey? So I understand the gripe. What I don't understand is why he can't just talk it over and just say, hey, is there anything we can do about this? Can I wear this pattern of uniform and just remove the collar? Can I modify the jersey in any way? I find it very difficult to believe the front office of the Chicago White Sox, a bunch of professional business people who negotiate for a living, could not have been negotiated with there. I find that very difficult to believe. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you were looking for the YouTube stream in the first half of the show, it crashed. There was no YouTube stream, so we only have half a show on YouTube for today's show, but that's fine. Check us out now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com, click on our YouTube link, our Twitter link, or our Facebook link, and find out all the things that are happening around Chattanooga and Hickson, the greater Chattanooga area, as it is also known. Michael Jordan was on the Players Tribune. The Players Tribune, of course, is the website that the players get to break their own stories and basically write pieces for themselves in their own words. And it's been a really cool site. It's a really cool idea. It doesn't give you the full view of what it is that's happening in a given story. A player can come out there and write their point of view and neglect all the other facts and details. So that's one criticism of the site. However, one thing that has come of this is that we get to see players' insight and players' feelings on certain situations. And I think that that's really cool. And Michael Jordan has come out and said that he can no longer stay silent. That what he wants to do is to donate some money to both the police funds and the funds of the victims of people who ended up being killed by the recent police shootings. And I think this is a great idea. Right? Here's what he said about what he's willing to put forth in terms of contributions. To support that effort, I am making contributions of $1 million each to 2 organizations: the International Association of Chiefs of Police, newly established Institute for Community Police Relations, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. The Institute for Community Police Relations policy and oversight work is focused on building trust and promoting best practices in community policing. My donation to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the nation's oldest civil rights law organization, will support its ongoing work in support of reforms that will build trust and respect between communities and law enforcement. Although I know these contributions alone are not enough to solve the problem, I hope the resources will help both organizations make a positive difference. So Michael Jordan basically donated $2 million to trying to make America better. And that is the most political act that Michael Jordan has ever done. Michael Jordan has been accused of basically being the Sweden of politics as far as athletics and politics go hand in hand, which is that Michael Jordan refuses to have an opinion on any of it. We don't know where Michael Jordan stands politically on like anything. And there are so many issues with so many causes for which Michael Jordan could take up and could champion for all the money that he has. He is a billionaire. That it's crazy to think that he's never done this before. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has criticized Michael Jordan for not being politically active in any way, especially when you consider that Michael Jordan owns the Jordan shoe brand, which is underneath the Nike shoe brand, and thusly has been accused and been fairly accurately accused of sweatshop labor and human rights violations, so far as you've got child labor in making the cost of the sneakers cheaper, but then the price comes over to the US and you're still paying $150 for a pair of Jordans. And not even like the best Jordans, just a pair of Jordans. It's pretty intense and pretty crazy when you think about it. Like you're using sweatshops and child labor. How has that not decreased the cost at all? There's still no kickback for any of that. You just, like, at least when you look at stores like H&M who've been accused of the same thing, that there's a cost difference. Like H&M stuff is really cheap, relatively speaking. Like if you're gonna do that, then at least pass the price on to the consumer. No, Jordans are still $150. Okay, cool. But Michael Jordan's been accused of not paying attention to that at all and not worrying about anything, because political issues are social issues. And I understand that there's a set of people that believe that sports and politics should never, ever cross, and sports and social issues should never, ever cross. And I don't agree, nor do I like that. I think that they have to cross, because sports are played by people and they are watched by people. And so anytime that you have that intersection, the issues that you choose to ignore are say something about what you think of your fans and what you think about yourself and your role in society. The ESPN documentary, the 30 for 30 about O.J. Simpson, O.J. Made in America, one of the best parts of that documentary was how O.J. saw himself and how O.J. saw his place in society, which is that O.J. didn't see himself as black at all. O.J. said that I'm not black, I'm O.J. And what that says about what O.J. thinks about black people is that your struggle is not about us making it. I made it, and that's good enough. We're not all trying to make it here. I made it, and that's good enough for me. I'm not going to help anybody out. I'm not going to help anybody out socially. I'm not going to be against the war in Vietnam. I'm not going to be against the civil rights laws, or the laws that violate the civil rights of black Americans around the world or in this country. I mean, you end up not having any of those things from OJ. And Michael Jordan wasn't in a similar vein, but Michael Jordan staying neutral says a lot about what Michael Jordan thinks about his fans, many of which, and I would say an overwhelmingly large percentage of which, are black. And certainly his consumers, because a lot of the people I know that buy Jordans and never take them out of the box, by the way, black. Because Jordans are the fashion statement, or at least for the longest time were the fashion statement of the black community. I don't know if that's still the case, but for the longest time it was true. And if someone still wears a pair of Jordans that look nice, you know that person is, to an extent, rolling. Little bit. So Michael Jordan coming out and talking politically on an issue is huge, because he's never done anything like this before, this boldly. Jordan seems like a guy, and this is just pure speculation, by the way. I've never spoken to Michael Jordan, so I do not actually know. But Michael Jordan seems like a guy that's a lot about protecting the brand. And by choosing a side on anything politically, the brand does take a risk, because if you say something that people don't like, they get mad at you. That we all want athletes to be social activists until they start saying stuff that we don't like. And then all of a sudden, we'd rather them not say anything at all. We were so happy about Muhammad Ali and what he did socially, right? No, we actually weren't. What Muhammad Ali did socially bucked the trend. It defied the conventions of his time. And it wasn't until later on that we appreciated what Muhammad Ali did for two reasons. One, he turned out to be right about the war in Vietnam, which at the time was not as black and white. There were many Americans who weren't sure what side of the fence to fall on, and there were many Americans who were absolutely certain we should be in Vietnam. And there was a whole lot. There was no obvious answer to the question of the war in Vietnam, as there shouldn't be, because when it's happening in the moment, it's hard to tell what's right and what's wrong in those instances. But Muhammad Ali wound up being right for what he chose to do. The other reason why we applaud Muhammad Ali so hard for all of the things that he said was that later he could not say more. Muhammad Ali did not have the ability to speak as he once did. And so we kind of assumed for Muhammad Ali what it was that he would say. That Muhammad Ali, when he could speak, was a very divisive guy. And then when he couldn't speak, we used his silence to turn him into a unifying character. Then Michael Jordan, who had all of this time, the ability to speak and the influence behind what Michael Jordan says, would have gone a long way. But Michael Jordan never wanted to choose a side, because Michael Jordan seemed worried about the brand. And I'm not the one that accused him of this. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has accused him of this. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a guy that was famous and an athlete too, and also had a brand to worry about, but also decided to be politically active as well. It's the athletes saying stuff that we don't like. And Michael Jordan seems, more so than any other athlete, to be aware that once you start saying stuff that people don't like, then they start to come after you, which is where I have a little bit of a problem with Michael Jordan doing this. Not that doing this is wrong in any way, because by reaching to both the NAACP and the police, what you're basically saying is both of your lives have meaning. But why didn't Michael Jordan ever say anything politically before? What, people's lives didn't matter previously to this? Michael Jordan's brand is now pretty well established. The risk of Michael Jordan losing anything for saying whatever is smaller now than it was than when he was playing. Like, now that he's already a billionaire, Michael Jordan can't lose enough money to make it matter. If that were the case, Donald Trump wouldn't say anything. Having billions makes it easier to say outrageous things and have people be really kind of cool with it. Michael Jordan is now standing up for stuff, and the problem I have with it is it's a little late, and like, why couldn't you do this before? Like, this would have way more meaning now if Michael Jordan had said this kind of thing in the 90s and in the early 2000s. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, Sons of Liberty. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Trigger Tuesday is an exciting prospect at Shooters Supply and Range in Hixson. Hold your breath and squeeze. Shooters waives the membership fee if you want to shoot any Tuesday. You pay only a $10 range fee, half the price